Reverend Rabbi Shmuley. Ladies and gentlemen, attention please.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit disappointed to see that the Republican organization discriminates against short people. Republicans should be open to everyone, vertically challenged included. Two and a half thousand years ago, today, my people were threatened with extinction and annihilation by a wicked Persian tyrant by the name of Haman. Today is the Jewish festival of Purim, the happiest day of the year. And 2,500 years later, we are again threatened with annihilation on the part of a Persian tyrant who wants to build a doomsday weapon, threatening to destroy a vulnerable democracy in the Middle East. In 2009, another Middle Eastern tyrant tried to move into the home immediately next door to him. His name, Muammar Gaddafi. And I was very content to be a rabbi and a writer and a broadcaster and all the things that God was kind enough to give me to get out my message, let alone, and more importantly, be a father of 9 children. But when a killer wanted to move next to me, a man who had killed more than 30 New Jerseyans, a man who had slaughtered 270 on a plane, a man who had bombed a discotheque filled with Americans only, and someone had to take the lead to push him out. There's a clear directive. We must oppose tyranny because that's what Americans do. And one of the reasons that I decided then that I would look in public office is after Congressman Steve Rothman, and I will always give thanks to those who assist me, helped in pushing Gaddafi out and came to a rally on my front lawn where I brought Governor Corzine and Senator Lautenberg and Congressman Rothman and all of the residents from Englewood. Right after that, when the foreign minister, the former foreign minister of Libya, wanted to move in next door to me, Mohammed Shalgam, Congressman Rothman made a statement to the press that we should be on good neighborly terms with a man who represented a government that would later bomb and slaughter its own people. And I was amazed at how the Democratic-controlled local government in Englewood did absolutely nothing. Not even to get them to pay taxes. They made us complicit in the tyranny of Libya by making us pay for their trash removal and police protection, a government that slaughtered American citizens. And you know why that happens? Because we in Englewood live in a one-party state. And whenever one party controls everything, corruption is sure to follow. And here we are living in New Jersey's 9th district, where we haven't had a Republican congressman in decades because they gerrymandered the districts to the point where they look like some bizarre sea monster that just crawled out of the deep to ensure that there are no Republican challengers. And I gotta tell you, this will continue unless we find a new language by which to win over people who are not Republicans. Which means that we first have to, and foremost, have to discover, why are we Republicans? Why are we content to be a minority where we can barely get our people elected into a congressional office? And the reason? The Democrats aren't bad people. They want to help the sick. They want to help the poor. The difference is that they believe in doing everything for others and stripping them of dignity in the process. Human beings don't only want food, clothing, and shelter. They want to feel accomplished in their own right. They want to be independent. They want to feel self-sufficient. There is nothing that gives you greater pride than being able to point at something and say, I made this, and there's nothing that belittles you and marginalizes you more. And when the government gives it to you, thereby making you dependent on them and voting them into office over and over again, because now you of basic necessities. Let me just tell you something. I mentioned Ahmadinejad, Haman, Gaddafi. And by the way, when I approached Gaddafi, all my closest friends said, Shmuley, you got to stop this. You have responsibility to your family. You have a large family, thank God. They're going to find you in a ditch somewhere, dead, in like a water ditch. Little did they realize that 2.5 years later, they would find Gaddafi dead in a ditch somewhere. He's getting a nice suntan right now as we speak. Good warm weather. Do you realize that in our Declaration of Independence, we declared George III to be a tyrant? George III, who taxed our tea. Now, compared to Ahmadinejad and Gaddafi, he was Mother Teresa. So why did we rebel, becoming the first modern republic in the entire world? Because we are never going to have any king telling us what to do, and we're not going to have the government telling us what to do. And we're going to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. And those who need our help, we're going to be there for them, because we're Americans, and we have hearts. But being there for them means getting them to stand on their own feet, rather than making them lifelong dependents. That's why I stand for policies that are about independence and freedom. Teaching is the most noble profession. Let's pay our teachers more and make them more accountable. Let's get rid of teacher tenure that says after 2 or 3 years you get a lifelong job. That's not good for teachers, and it's not good for students. Because teachers are those responsible for our kids. They're the most special people in our society. They deserve to earn more. But any job that has ever been given to me, I have been evaluated. The final announces whether I'm effective or not. Because we all want to feel that we earned that position. I believe in school vouchers because I think that absolutely parents have a right to choose where they're going to send their kids to school. They have a right to determine which values they need to communicate to their kids. I believe that we should have values education in the public schools. And even when we have vouchers, strengthen the public schools. But teach the kids what made this country great. It's not just geography and geometry and mathematics. It's also about giving them the values that made this country exceptional. I believe that we, the Republican Party, have to be the values party. And I got to tell you, if we want to win over independent voters so that we really have a shot in November, so that tonight actually matters, rather than just putting up another person who's going to get clobbered in the fall, we have to show people who don't agree with us that we have the language to win them over. If you want to talk about contraception, abortion, and gay marriage forever, we can kiss this party goodbye. Because I want to tell you something. It's going to self-destruct. Because we are losing people who think that we're becoming extremists. The issue over contraception in Catholic schools is an issue of religious freedom, and call it that. President Obama has no right to tell the Catholic Church what it must pay for. But don't get mired in the social, sexual issues. I want to save the American family. I'm a child of divorce. Let me just tell you something. When the New York Times has to run a front page story, as they did this past Sunday, demonstrating that even among baby boomers, people who we thought had real family values, there's a 50% increase in divorce over the past decade. When they run a story showing that 75% of African American births are out of wedlock, and 40% of white births are out of wedlock, when the institution of marriage is going down the toilet, and all we do is talk about whether gays are getting married or not, while 1 out of 2 heterosexuals don't know how to stay in love, and the only men who still want to get married in America are all gay. Then whatever your position is on civil unions, gay marriage, it's an important issue. But why the issue? The most central issue? I would make marital counseling tax deductible so that the 50% of couples who don't know how to stay married can get the help they need. Because I want to tell you something. When kids are not raised in a 2-parent household, where they're not given all the love that they need to give them strong, independent characters, that's when they become dependent on the government. That's when they end up costing the government a lot of money, aside from the morality of the issue. We need 2-parent households. So let's focus on the issue. Let's also take some of what makes Bergen County special. You know what makes this county unique? We actually put family before commerce. The department stores are closed because we think on a Sunday or Saturday that kids ought to have a dinner or lunch with their parents, and that maybe happiness ought to come from relationships, friendship, and family rather than the impulse purchase. Let the Republican Party be the party of values. In 2008, the whole economy went nearly belly up, a $10 trillion a year economy. And why? Because our cars were never new enough, and our clothes were never fashionable enough, and our homes were never large enough. We need to have more of a spiritual renaissance. That's what America's about. Under God, we say it over and over again. It's even printed on our money. Let's win people over with real values. Let's use the language and the ideals that will make them friends. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, just tell you, if an American kid is born as he is now, when he takes his first breath, already owing nearly $40,000, with a $14 trillion deficit that Congress has not been serious about reducing, when that kid is born owing so much money before he's even opened his eyes, that isn't about debt. That's immoral. You don't saddle your kids with debt before they came into this world. You give them a free chance to make it on their own. We got to get rid of the debt. We got to cut taxes. We have to increase growth. We have to relieve the burden on small businesses so they hire more people, so we get more jobs, so people have the dignity of being self-sufficient. God bless you. Thank you.
If you are not successful in the convention, will you commit to supporting who does win, and will you commit to not primary?